Galactic Standard Time. Pod.
Hello, this is Physics Buddy Joe, and this is Galactic Standard Time, where we're going to discuss the timelines and orders and details of all of the Star Wars universe. We do stick to canon. I don't dig into the Legends material at all, then that's somebody else's videos. We'll take care of that. So that everyone is on the same page, we do talk about dates in universe time in of Star Wars. So that means we're talking about BBY and ABY. BBY is everything to the left. It's everything before the Battle of Yavin, before Episode 4, before A New Hope, before Star Wars. And then ABY is going to be everything on this side. Everything after the Battle of Yavin, after Episode 4, after A New Hope, after Star Wars, whatever you're going to call it. So today, the big thing that I wanted to talk about is watch order. Everyone always talks about what order should we be watching all of our Star Wars media. What order is the best? What order for new people? What order for rewatches? All those kind of things. So we'll be discussing that. I think now is our... I'm trying to do transitions and trying to do transitions live today. It's going to be so exciting, let me tell you.
Execute Order 66.
So now is our time to for Order 66. This is where we put 66 seconds on the clock and I explain or I try to list things off as fast as I can. Let's see if we can do this. Oh, let's see, I'm messing up these transitions already. Don't even worry. So here we go. I'm going to explain the eras of Star Wars. So we have first the Dawn of the Jedi. There will be a movie coming out of that here shortly. The Old Republic, there's no content right now in the Old Republic. There's some references, but there's nothing there. The High Republic, there's a bunch of books, a bunch of comics. There's there's an animated show, and then there's the Acolyte and some of that stuff. We've got Fall of the Jedi, which is the prequels era. The Reign of the Empire, which is the original trilogy era. And then we have Age of Rebellion, which is kind of along in that area as well. Then we have the New Republic, which is like Mandoverse. And then Rise of the First Order, which is the sequels era. And then the New Jedi Order, which will be the new Rey movie. If that ever comes up, and Starfighter and all those is going to be in that era as well. What era do you think needs more stories? That's the big question. Leave that in the comments. What era do you want to see more stories in? All right. Also, leave in the comments how I'm doing on these transitions, and it's okay to say horrible. Because I don't even know what's going on here. This is our next one, and here, this is our time zones that we were just talking about. So you can see all those. All right. I think this is a lot rougher. I need to maybe try a different app or something. Well, the wonders of editing will make all of this seem so much better.
Sir, Unauthorized access at the data vault.
There we go. Now we're talking about Data Vault Dive. So in Data Vault Drive is going to be the meat of our talk here. We will be getting into all the different orders. Or at least we're going to talk about 3 main watch orders. The first one is going to be movies and TV in release order. Now, I think this is probably the best order to watch everything, because that's the order we all who have been keeping up to date in real time, this is the order we watched everything. And I know I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I watched it in release order. So we can assume that if somebody else watches in release order, they can also become a Star Wars fan. So this would, of course, be the original trilogy, followed by the prequels, then the Clone Wars, up through season 6. Through season 6. And then we get the Rebels, Force Awakens in there too, Rogue One in there, and then Forces of Destiny, that was the special that came out there, season 1, and then Battlefront 2, Last Jedi, Solo, Resistance. I mean, you know the order of all this stuff, but I think the biggest reason why I promote this, like if anybody can't decide what order to watch something in, release order, just you cannot go wrong. All of the correct plot twists and surprises and all that all stay intact if you do it in release order, because that's how it was written, how it was done. So I think that's a really good way to go. Now, the second most popular one that I've heard is chronological order. Now, in chronological order, we start messing with a lot of the surprises and the twists and things like that. All of a sudden, I Am Your Father is not going to be a secret anymore. So that's where I think the chronological watch is pretty cool as far as like a historical perspective, or if you're just wanting to watch through it and kind of see the progression. Like one of the things I think chronological is really good for, which we'll kind of talk about this later, but one of the things that it's really good for is in like the Clone Wars era, so like the prequels era, if you can go through and watch episode 1, episode 2, Clone Wars, episode 3, and you watch all of the Order 66 stuff like in chronological order, I think that's a really cool shot of the rise and fall of Anakin Skywalker. But then there's some weird things that come with watching it in time order. As you watch like Solo kind of falls in a weird spot over there, like Solo then Obi-Wan Kenobi, like that's going to be kind of a weird transition because they don't feel like they go together. But it's also kind of interesting knowing that like Solo and Kenobi kind of like the eras were about the same, like the same time in the universe was when those were happening. So I like chronological order more as like a concept than actually watching it in chronological order. But for my order that we're about to talk about, I definitely think that I definitely took the chronological order into perspective. So now on to my order, the Physics Buddy Joe Thread Order. This is the thing. This is like if you want to be way too complicated, but this is making everything exciting. I think this would be a really interesting way for somebody to watch for the first time. Mostly, this is my favorite order for a rewatch. If you want to catch up on all Star Wars before the next movie comes out next May, Mandalorian and Grogu, this would be a great order to watch everything in. It keeps most Easter eggs not Easter eggs, but most plot twists and cliffhangers and all those surprises all are intact. Like, I think there's only one that I had through this whole thing that got messed up a little bit, but overall, I'm a big fan of this, and I've been working on this list for a long time. So we will actually, we can go through this step by step, and we can talk about each of the different ways that we're gonna go through here. So let me get the right slide up here, and here we go. Physics Buddy Joe's Thread Watch Order: How to Watch Star Wars the Complicated Way. Of course, and then here's our picture again. Where are we going to start? We are going to start with Andor. So starting with Andor. Oh wow, I am totally messing stuff up now. There we go. Wow, how did I make this so bad? All right. You guys gotta just walk along with me here, I guess. Okay. Let's try this again. Stop clicking on stuff. I made everything so interactive so I can click through it and things, and it just totally messed me up. So, the first thread that we're talking through, this whole order is broken up into threads. All right. So we have the Andor thread, we have the Young Jedi Adventures thread, we've got in like the High Republic thread, we've got the prequels thread, and we got the Fall of Vader thread. It's lots of fun. So let's think through. So think as if you've never seen Star Wars before and you know nothing about it. You jump right in to what everyone is kind of talking about is the best Star Wars out there. We're going to start with Andor. You watch through season 1, you get into season 2, and it starts speeding up. It's one of those things. Andor's nice and calm and relaxed. I don't know if relaxed is the right word, but you nice and calm. And we go through Andor, and then we get into season 2, and man, it starts picking up. It starts getting crazy and fast. And here we go. We're on the roll. We get through Andor, and you kind of starting to see. I mean, we start out with no Force, nothing Jedi, nothing Force, nothing at all in Andor. And then you get into Andor season 2, and you have a little bit of Force stuff sneaking in there. And then you jump into Rogue One, and we're flying at this point. We're cruising with excitement and speed. And we get into Rogue One, we get a little bit more Force stuff, but it's kind of like, what is that Force thing that we're talking about? I don't really know. And then we finish Rogue One, and we're going like, man, Vader, he's crazy. We don't even know, like, what was that thing that just destroyed stuff, and who was that girl at the end? And then we get into Star Wars, and this is where things start coming together. We learn who Vader is. We meet Luke. We see Yavin again. We, starting to call back, and it kind of wraps up this thread where it started off with Cassian at the beginning and kind of builds through, and all the people that made the end of Star Wars happen, and why there should have been a lot more medals handed out on screen, especially Chewie. So the next thread is really simple. It's just episode 1, because the reason it goes here, and oh, by the way, these lightning bolts that I have on here, that means there's a time jump. So we say, okay, here's our Andor thread, and then we're gonna do a time jump. So we're gonna jump back in time, and we're gonna go back in time and see, okay, Luke talked about his father Anakin. Let's learn about Anakin. And then also we'll learn about Obi-Wan. So those are going to be our 2 touch points for this movie. Is we're following Anakin, we're following Obi-Wan Kenobi. and kind of see what was Luke's dad like. That's kind of cool. And then we're gonna do another time jump, even farther back. We're gonna go back and learn about the Jedi in the High Republic. What were the Jedi like at their peak? And then we get to the Acolyte and we start seeing the cracks, and see how things are starting to maybe fall apart. And then we get to the Jedi Temple Challenge. We can learn about some of the training stuff, some of the stuff that Padawans used to go through, and we meet Keller and Beck. And that'll be the end of that thread. Next thread is going to be our Clone Wars thread. So we get Attack of the Clones, we get Clone Wars the movie, and then we're just going to blast through all of the Clone Wars. And at this point, like, you could choose to do it chronological order, but man, that's just such a pain to do. I say just let's just watch it in release order. It's a little confusing sometimes, but none of the plot points are ruined by watching in release order. So release order, so season 1 through 6. Don't watch season 7 yet. Don't watch season 7 yet, because remember, we don't know anything about Star Wars. We're still learning about those two cool, like, we're still learning about Luke's dad, Anakin, and we're falling in love with him. We are learning more about Obi-Wan Kenobi and what he was like. We're learning about the Clone Wars that they talked about in A New Hope. So this is all like backstory, and we're getting some more deep lore stuff in here. We meet Ahsoka. We're learning more about a lot of these characters through this arc. The next arc will make sense in a moment. So keeping in mind, look at the big picture again. So we did Andor. We learned about Anakin as a kid. We learned about what other Jedis did as a kid. So it's kind of like they start talking about how episode 1 they talk about, like, I will be watching your training with and so then we go to Young Jedi Adventures and the Acolyte and Jedi Temple Challenge. Just kind of, that's almost like looking at what the Jedi Order is about and learning about the Jedi Order at their peak and what that's all about. So what is probably, it's like almost like stuff that Anakin would have learned. So it's kind of, we're going along the learning path with Anakin, and then when we jump to episode 2, we get to see Anakin all grown up, and moving forward with all the Clone Wars stuff. So then after that, what we're setting the stage for is we've learned about, thinking about the main characters of Star Wars A New Hope. We've learned about Luke's father, Anakin. We've learned about Obi-Wan Kenobi. We've learned about who else did I say we learned about? We got introduced to a bunch of people, and so now we are going to jump in and we're going to learn more about Han Solo, and Lando, and Chewie. So we watch Solo and learn their backstory, and now we get into Empire Strikes Back, which is going to be kind of tying all these pieces together. Everything that we've learned about so far kind of all jumps into here. And when so this is like the only little like hidden thing that's going to get spoiled at this point. So none of us, we've already gotten to know Yoda from the Clone Wars, so it'd be kind of a bummer that it's kind of ruined. But towards the end of Empire Strikes Back, we find out that Anakin and that super scary guy at the end of Rogue One are the same guy. I think that will make that reveal just so impactful. I wish that I could go back in time and not know anything about it and try this viewing pattern out and see how big that, because you fall in love with Anakin, you love him, you're like, man, Luke's dad is the best, he's so cool. And then you get to here and you realize, wait, that guy, he did fall. It's heavy. All right, so after Empire Strikes Back, then we're gonna flash back again, And this is where we say, well, how did he fall? Like, how did Anakin become Darth Vader? So that's why we watch episode 3. We learn about how he became Darth Vader. And then we watch season 7 of the Clone Wars, learning more about Order 66, learning more about the fall of Anakin, the rise of Ahsoka, things like that. And then Tales of the Jedi, yet again, throw that in there to learn more about Ahsoka, and even learning more about like about Dooku and Mace Windu and all that, and kind of just rounding out our backstory on a bunch of those characters. So we're after Order 66 at this point. After Order 66, we jump into what's going on with all these Jedi after Order 66. And this will be, Order 66 is fresh. We would have just... What's going on here? Order 66 will be fresh. This is we just watched Order 66. We're going to be super emotional after all that. And then we're just going in chronological order at this point. With season 7, Tales of the Jedi, we go right into Cal Kestis' story. We go into Obi-Wan Kenobi, where he's dealing with hiding from the Empire. He's dealing with Vader's fall and all these things. Jedi Survivor, more just what are these Jedi doing, trying to stay safe, trying to avoid Darth Vader. I think watching all of that right after watching episode 3 is going to be pretty impactful. After that, we start going uphill a little bit more, like learning some more positives. So let's do Tales of the Underworld, and we'll get into Bad Batches. Like, people are starting to grab footholds in the Empire and start working on how to climb their way out and make a difference in the world. Next one, Fall of the Empire. So now we kind of know what's the world like right now after Order 66. We learn about what the clones doing after Order 66. We find out what the underworld kind of looks like after Empire. I forgot to put a little time jump there. But then we jump into Return of the Jedi. So we've kind of established what the backstories of a bunch of characters. We've established what the universe looks like at the time. And we get into Return of the Jedi, and then the aftermath of that with Battlefront 2 and Squadrons. Then we're going to time jump again. We're going to jump back and say, all right, we're going to watch through all of Rebels. I originally had Rebels kind of sprinkled in more chronologically in a couple of places, and it just never felt right. So you could probably watch this first and then go into Andor. But really, I think this is the best spot to have it, because if you watched Rebels first, you wouldn't know who Ahsoka is. You wouldn't know who Rex is. There's lots of storylines in there that just wouldn't make as big of a punch. Like, you wouldn't even know who Vader was if you did that. So I think at this point you have enough backstory. And this is why I kind of say the release order ends up being the best in a lot of ways. Is really, we just want to wait. We want to get through and watch all of the original trilogy and all of the prequels before we get into Rebels. And that's what we have here. So, and Rebels is a great bingeable show too. So you can just binge, blast right through, because it does have some slower episodes and it has some really heavy episodes. So it's a good binger. Okay, so after we watch Rebels, then we binge the Mandoverse, which it will be so fun. Which I actually am going to hopefully be binging the Mandoverse before Mandalorian Grogu comes out. Just need to figure out, make myself make time to do that. But this will be super fun. Again, you need some backstory for all this to make sense. You need to have seen Return of the Jedi, in kind of so in anything Battlefront 2 and Squadrons, just kind of figure out what the end of what the universe looks like at this point. You need to have watched Clone Wars and Rebels before you watch this, so that you understand who Ahsoka is and you get it. So, and then we got Resistance, which is pretty self-explanatory. This is the sequels era. Force Awakens, Resistance, Last Jedi, Resistance Season 2, Forces of Destiny, and The Rise of Skywalker. And that pretty much wraps up our watch order. And then you're just basically, we're going to be stuck doing release order for all of the stuff that is yet unreleased. So I think, well, let's see if we can do this smoothly or if it's gonna be a mess. I think I can do it smoothly. Let's try.
Take your holocrons. You will need them inside the temple.
It almost worked. So holocron hits is our next section of the program, which we are going to be talking about how different what am I trying to say? We're going to talk about how we gotta get our chronological order up here. Okay, so we're going to talk about different books that you can read to make different threads make more sense. So I'm trying to think of what slide do you want to have up for this. Let's see. Let's do this one. All right. So let's say for this first thread, oh, I did it again. Stop doing that. Why would you do that, guys? So for this first slide, some books that go really, really well with this: Andor, Rogue One, Star Wars. If you're really into this thread, here's some books. Watch Catalyst, Rebel Rising, and Mask of Fear. Those are great prequel books to this era. For me, I read Catalyst just like I finished it like the day before Rogue One came out. So I read that. It's basically the backstory of like Krennic and Galen Erso. So good. It's a great book, and it leading right into Rogue One is excellent. So I think chronologically, I think we'd be going Mask of Fear or Catalyst, Mask of Fear, then Rebel Rising. Rebel Rising is the story of Jin, and then Mask of Fear is Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and Saw. So those those books just flavor this thread so much more. If you're into the Rebels arc, A New Dawn is a great fun book. Also the Thrawn books. There's 2 trilogies of Thrawn books that would give a little extra flavor to Rebels. But definitely A New Dawn. That's the story of how Kanan and Hera met and became partners at the beginning. So if you're into the sequels, really good books to like flavor the sequels even more. Bloodline, Shadows of the Sith. Shadows of the Sith, that one has some meat in it. Same with Bloodline. Bloodline has a lot. Bloodline coined the term Hutt Slayer for Leia, which is pretty bad, as in badass. And then Phasma, that's a great. I really enjoyed that book. It actually made me want more of Phasma, and I kind of hope that she comes back at some point. Not that I want every person who falls down a fiery hole to come back, but Phasma's such an interesting character. I really, really like that one. Let's see if we go back to our High Republic era. There are 3 phases worth of High Republic books. So if you love the Jedi and you want to know more about the Jedi at their height, do that. But also there's the book Wayseeker. And also there's a new book that just came out, or is just coming out next week, called The Crystal Crown, which will also be in that Acolyte era, following Jackie and Yord. Those would be good books. Yes, you'll have to let me know if you want slides for these books next time. If you like the original trilogy, which is all over the place, but let's say you like the original trilogy, you should watch Lost Stars. Lost Stars. It is basically follows the events of the original trilogy from a completely different perspective. It is a boy and a girl who meet and fall in love and end up on opposite sides of the war. Very, very interesting book. Definitely, that's on my must-read if you're going to be reading any of the canon Star Wars books. If you're into the prequels, please read the Queen trilogy. The 3 books that follow Padme, and they are just so fun and gives a little even more flavor to Padme as a character, and will make your prequel trilogy watching even more exciting, because you know a little bit more of the backstory and what the Naboo queendom situation even is. And there's a bunch more in here, but we will move on.
Is there an echo in here?
Yes,
What?
I'm Echo.
So I tried to make these all be in order, and it didn't save it in order. So now I'm just like searching for the right video every time. So Echoes of the Future is our next segment, and what we're going to talk about, we'll talk about the new stuff coming out. All right. You can tell that it's taken me a while to do this episode because Trials of the Jedi has already come out, and the Crystal Crown comes out in the next in 4 days from when I'm recording this right now. So these are the books that are coming out, books and movies that are on their way out. Be kind of interesting. So Trials of the Jedi is the wrap up of the High Republic era, so that would be at the end of Phase 3. And as far as watch order type things go, I think we want to move. I mean, of course, you watch those in release order. All of the High Republic books, just watch them in release order. That makes everything make sense. They sent it out in that order for a reason. Then we have the Acolyte Crystal Crown. That would kind of fit in with the Young Jedi Adventures, Acolyte, Jedi Temple Challenge thread. Then we have Sanctuary. I'm really excited about that book. Really excited to read that. Hoping that'll be just like a couple weeks before the kids go back to school. So maybe I can get that read. If not before they go back to school, but I'll try to get that read right after it comes out. I'm really excited about that one. That one fits, of course, into the post Order 66 Bad Batch thread. And then we have The Last Order, which actually looks really interesting, coming out at the end of October. That one would fit into the Resistance thread, or probably one of. I think that might even be like the new Jedi Order thread. We'll have to see how that story ends up rolling out, but I think that's going to end up being around there. Master of Evil, that one definitely. Oh man, where is that one? That one is, I believe, right after Order 66. I think it's like around the Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order, Obi-Wan Kenobi show, around that era. Mandalorian Grogu, of course, that's at we're wrapping up the Mandoverse here soon, so Mandalorian Grogu would be in that thread, and then Starfighters getting in. That'd be in the new Jedi Order, or maybe the Resistance thread. We'll have to see what that story goes through. And here's some of the other ones that we don't have dates for yet, so we'll talk about those once we get some dates set. But anyway, now we're going to talk about galactic status.
Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
This is the segment that I don't have anything for right now, but this would be if you have questions that you want me to answer. If you are like, man, I can't figure out when this person was born, or hey, I can't figure out when this happened. Any of those kind of things, this would be the segment that I'll go through my questions on Discord or Patreon, and we'll answer some questions. But at this point, instead of answering questions, I'm gonna wrap up what we've been talking about. We will talk about that our watch order, and which ones we think was the best. So again, we have the release order, which, I mean, you can't go wrong. It's just nothing spoiled, everything fits. There's not really a flow to it. There's not a story to it. There's lots of jumping around in the timeline, but release order is the safest watch order to have for sure. The most scholarly way to do it would be chronological order, but functionally it is so hard, especially once you get into the Clone Wars, to watch through, and you have to keep a spreadsheet of which episodes you watch, and you have to skip around. You can't just binge through the whole thing. So that's my main hang up of not wanting to watch. And then also you have to sprinkle in Rebels and Andor season 2 all happen at the same time, so you have to watch a couple episodes, then watch a couple episodes of the other show, then a couple of the other show, and then even just around that Order 66 timeline, it gets really murky in through there, and trying to figure out what episode goes where. You have to sprinkle in some of the Tales of the Underworld, Tales of the Jedi. It all just kind of gets to be Tales of the Empire gets in there too, so we'll have to just figure out what all fits in there where. And then finally, my favorite order, which is complicated, but I really like the storytelling that this one gives us. What would you do to change things? What would you do to... is there any spoilers that this order messes up? Let me know, because this has been constantly changing. It actually has changed since a couple weeks ago when I recorded this without the audio. I actually went back through and I changed the order around since then, so I'm willing to change some of these ideas and maybe make it a little bit better even. So I think we're about done with our episode here. Whew, man, this is our first real episode, and I actually made it. I think it was a little clunky with these slides, but I think I'll get better. I gotta maybe learn some of these programs a little bit better and see how it all happens. You've been listening to and watching Galactic Standard Time. You can find us on Blue Sky or TikTok, Galactic Standard Time Pod, YouTube at Galactic Standard Time Podcast. Our overall project is called Collabrat. You can follow them and us on Collabrat Together, Collabrat Together, and then I'm Physics Buddy Joe. You can find me everywhere on the internet at Physics Buddy Joe, or PB Joe in some of the places. We appreciate you listen, you watch, you like, subscribe, comment, hang out in our Discord, come follow us on Patreon. You can go on Patreon and buy me a coffee and get access to my Discord. That's the Collabrat Discord, and we just growing it and figuring out a cool place to talk about Star Wars, about all kinds of other things that we're into.
I'm the one in the middle, the Bendu.
So this is the section that I always forget to prep for, so I'm just going to go out with the best quote of all of Star Wars. It's from Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he says that it was true from a certain point of view. And I think that's so true, especially when we're talking about these watch orders. It depends on your point of view. Have you watched all of Star Wars before? Have you watched some of Star Wars before? Do you know some of the plot twists? Do you know some of the spoilers? Are you doing a rewatch? Are you a heavy lore nerd? All of those things are going to really matter what your point of view is and which watch order is the right one for you. So I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed putting it together and learning about all of the different different ways to watch Star Wars. Maybe next time when we want to have a 3-hour podcast, I will include all of the books and all of the all the books, all the video games, all the comics, and all those things. We can just add those in on top of everything. So I think that is it from me. Like I said, follow me on all of the places, and hopefully we can get into a groove and start watching or start posting more videos. Thanks for listening, watching, and we'll see you next time.
Right.